Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sportycast Football. This is episode 122 of the 343 podcast. My name is Riyaz Parker, and I'm your host this evening. And I'm joined by the wonderful, the stylish, the amazing, the closeted United fan, Jason Ronnie. How's it going, Jason?
You were on one for a birthday, and then you completely threw it away there. That last one just had to be, no? Nah, I'm good. Shot for that intro, guys. Let me tell you, I didn't pay him to say any of those things. Okay, that's how he really feels about me.
Only
So
the last
yeah,
one.
only the last part. Yeah, everything else was scripted. Nah, I'm good now. I'm good. Happy to be here. It seems a bit weird, just a little 1v1 sort of a thing here, but
We all know who's going to win that one. I concede early.
nah, I have seen you. You're like a bull terrier. You are snapping at the ankles. I have played fives with you, so I was happy you're on my team and not playing against me.
I appreciate that, but we should do that again sometime. To be honest with you, I do miss it.
No, for sure.
But
How are you
good.
doing?
Yeah, I'm
You've
good,
asked
man.
me how I'm doing. How are you?
I'm cold. I don't know if my clothes signify that, but I'm pretty cold. But doing well. Not too bad. Having a good week so far. Trying to stay in from the rain and
Yeah,
avoid all the unpleasantness that is the outside world. But
no, for
yeah,
sure.
not doing too badly, not doing too badly, but we have a lovely show lined up for you guys this evening. It's going to be a bit short. One of our co-hosts was stuck in a bit of traffic and couldn't join us this evening. He might hop one, you never know if he gets home in time, but we'll see how that one goes. And so, yeah, we have a nice short and concise show for you guys today. We have some transfer rumors that we're going to be talking about. We have the Club World Cup as well. We'll just be talking a little bit about that. And of course, we have we wanted to do almost based on Hamza's kind of suggestion last week. We wanted to do I guess an underrated and overrated kind of segment at the end of the show for the Premier League season that we just saw. So yeah, that's going to be our show today. Get in the comments and let us know any questions that you might have or that you want us to cover as well. We'll do our best to do that as well. And yeah, until then, will start with some transfer news. And Jason, do you want to kick us off, or should I do that?
Now we can chat a bit. I don't mind that. So yeah, it's obviously been a bit of a weird one. They had to open the window for the teams that are playing in the Club World Cup. Then they
Really
closed it.
odd. Yes.
Yeah. And it's because this Club World Cup, I mean, we'll obviously touch on it a bit later in our limited knowledge of it. But
Yeah.
there were some teams that want to complete some deals so that there'll be players that are eligible to play for them. So it was open, then it was closed. So in this period now, there hasn't been much that's happening except a lot of Fabrizio tweets, about this is going to happen and things like that. So there hasn't been too many things, too many confirmed transfers at least. But the current rumor mill is busy.
Yeah.
Specifically North London. We spoke a bit last week about Arsenal, but this week I'm focusing on Spurs actually, and the
Okay.
new manager, Thomas the Tank. Yeah, he's obviously trying to bolster up. So I think two transfers that are sort of linked is Christian Romero might be heading on his way out. He might be on his way to Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid, which I think is probably the most Diego Simeone signing
Yeah.
in recent times, right? He's Argentinian. He has a red card in him. He's got a bit of craziness. It ticks all of his boxes, right?
Yeah.
Then a subsequent move, which is also being thrown around, is Jared Brathwaite from Everton going to Spurs. So I could see one happening if Romero actually leaves, and I think he probably does want to take that step up now. He's been playing at Spurs for quite some time, and it's a bit of a weird one to leave now, but I think it's like rather take the gap when you have it as opposed to thinking it's going to come again next season.
Yeah.
You also don't know what's happening. So yeah, he wants to play a bit more competitively, I suppose, and get himself into a bit of form going into next year's World Cup. So that's one to definitely keep your eye out on. Another one going to Atletico as well is Andy Robertson, apparently, which is weird.
Apparently.
I think he really wants to be close to his friend Trent. So now he's going to investing. So that is something that's been circulating. Yeah, definitely ones to just keep your eyes out for. Yeah, I don't know what you've seen. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I wonder if Robertson's also going to come out with speaking perfect Spanish when he's unveiling.
Imagine a Scottish Spaniard, bro. That's gonna be like one of the funniest interviews ever.
Merging of culture all over the
Mm,
place. Just a quick before I get into some transfer, just a quick side note on those things that you said. Obviously, as a Spurs fan, I'll be extremely sad if Ramiro goes. He's
mm,
obviously, actually, I'm not sure if he's our best defender anymore. He's our best fit defender if he can stay fit, I guess. But it will be really sad to see him go. I think that the Ange sacking really hurt him as
yeah,
it did with most players, to be honest. I mean, we've seen so much support come out in favor of Ange from the players themselves.
yeah,
And yeah, it looks a bit on the hectic side in terms of that. I don't know how the Frank engine is going to sort out this morale at the club. But yeah, if he goes, hopefully, like I've seen varying kind of prices for him as well,
yeah,
like between 50 and 70. And I'm like, how are we selling Romero for 50, please? I don't
yeah,
understand that. I
yeah,
mean, we should take no less than 65, 70 for him minimum.
yeah,
So, but I do agree with you in the fact that it's a perfect Simeone signing. I think he'll fit in perfectly there to the whole culture and way that they play there at Atletico. Unfortunately for me, but yeah, as far unfortunately, people get stuck sometimes in
yeah.
places that they cannot exit, and but we never know.
That's
Some
your
people might
friend
join us.
Zippy, my bro. As far you must talk to him when you catch him again. Ask him why is he deciding to go to the supermarket so close to deadline. That's what I'm saying.
Deadline day. Good, man. I hope you're well, brother. Thanks for joining us this evening. Since Ashfar is here, I wanna talk about that. Just adding on to your kind of Robertson to Atletico vibe. Kirkes to
Mm,
Liverpool as well. That's a rumor that's happening. Obviously, maybe
mm,
that's why Robertson wants to leave. There's, I think they said it's 40 million that they want to buy him for. So Liverpool wanting to get both fullbacks replaced. Uh,
mm.
Quite smart, I would say. Quite smart
Yeah,
because both of them are kind of, I wouldn't say leading to the end of their careers, but we've seen Robertson take a kind of a step back this season. I'm not sure if
yeah,
it's his legs or what. Maybe it's just the drop off in form. But I think bringing
yeah,
in someone who's had a great season like Kirk is in an advancing system that Bournemouth do play, I think it's a really good fit for them. So 40 million, I think, is also a steal. So that's one that we could see happening very, very soon. And yeah, Robertson definitely has
yeah.
served you well.
Yeah,
100%.
it's crazy to see. But yeah, I think if we're looking at the fullback pairings, Liverpool have had probably the
The
best
best.
pairing of these last few years. Yeah, if you're gonna rate
Yeah.
it, not so much on the defending on the right hand side, but more just the overall ability, I suppose. And
I didn't say it.
numbers matter, isn't it? So yeah, probably the highest performing fullback pairing, and probably the most consistent as well. Very limited injuries between the two of them.
Yeah.
Robertson's legs starting to show now a bit more, but yeah, to pick up Kirk's for about 40, if that is the figure, I think in today's market where young players after having one good season get sold and start fetching up to like 50, 60 to basically secure that left back spot because he's young, he's got a lot about him going forward, he's got a lot about him defensively. You're getting somebody that's exceptionally good for a steal.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this because I don't know, man. I genuinely don't think he'd not that he holds like extreme loyalty to City, but yeah, I don't think he would. I think there's talks about João Pedro going to Newcastle. So I think Newcastle might be preparing for their front line to almost switch up, and it's looking like it's sad to say more and more likely that Isak will be coming to Liverpool, which
Yeah.
is scary. It's absolutely
It is
scary to think
scary.
about because yeah, I mean outside Salah and maybe Saka, I think he's been the most consistent for the last few seasons where goals and like outputs actually concerned. So yeah, I think it don't think it happens, especially now with another Argentinian coming to Spain. So if he can
Yeah.
basically form his whole national team in Spain and he can try and compete.
And he's been
Um,
doing well there in that team as well. So I don't think that there would be any
wow, I
reason
think
for him to come
besides,
to Liverpool.
I mean, you've obviously associated Atletico's attack with like Griezmann, but now this season they had Griezmann, they had Sirloth as well, who had performed exceptionally well towards the back end of the season. Alvarez came in clutch with a lot of goals. And I think they were just, it was a dubious, that penalty that was basically ruled off.
Yeah.
They were dubious call away from actually going to the quarters against Arsenal, maybe doing something there, and going to the semis against PSG. And yeah, so I think they had, maybe by their standards, they underperformed, but it wasn't like the worst season.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a stat now the other day that said Grealish hasn't. I mean, not Grealish. Sorry, what did you say? Griezmann. Griezmann hasn't had a goal involvement for like 900 minutes or something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's understandable. The man's played at a top level for how many years now? So
yeah, he's also just riding the wave now, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, just to touch on Ramiz said that a good defense is an attack, and yeah, 100%. The one thing that I have been seeing, and I think it's a tactic that Real Madrid have employed recently, not just with Trent, I think maybe Kylian Mbappe as well, that they'd gotten, and some of the signings, they're trying to prop up these players that are going to be free agent in maybe a season or two's time. So there's been talk now that they've been after Saliba, but I think Saliba has just signed an extension and they should announce it soon. But Ibrahima Konate, they've been trying to ruffle a bit of feathers there. So yeah, I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on. If he's not going to sign an extension, yeah, let's see how it feels when he leaves next season. Possibly.
They love doing that, eh? They love these year before kind of non-extension boys that they can just get out of nowhere and kind of bring to the club. And it's basically because the defense is now, I guess they only have Raul Asensio that's kind of coming through the ranks. I mean, Alaba is leaving. Rudiger's still there, I guess.
Yeah. Rudiger's Rudiger's a bit mental, isn't he? So yeah, it's also a really won't-y sort of a thing, you know.
Yeah, and Konate is young.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But also across the pond from them, Barcelona have signed a new keeper. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is with Ter Stegen. There were some issues with him and the manager, and the manager they wanted to sell him, and he said he was going to stay even if he sat on the bench, but now he wants to fight for his place. But they brought in Joan Garcia, a new goalkeeper. I think it was for 30 million or somewhere around there, which is very interesting to say the least. I mean, Ter Stegen was arguably one of the best keepers in the world for a time, and he got injured now, and then all of a sudden, I guess the journeyman Volchek took his place there in the goal. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see as well. I mean, the kind of movements that La Liga is making, especially with those three teams that we discussed now, Atletico, Barca, and Madrid, they're taking steps up. So hopefully, the Premier League can do it as well. So Barcelona are actually, they have somehow, I'm not sure how precisely, but they have somehow gotten clear of this issue that they've had with their money situation. I'm not sure how.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, the owner is also, I think La Liga can't lose the same way the Prem can't lose a city to the product. There's no way that La Liga gets to a point where they say there's no Barca, right? Or there's severe implications for like Barca. So they somehow have money. I think in their run into the Champions League, they also did get something. They went pretty decently. They also won the league. If I'm not mistaken, they also won Copa. There's a few. Oh no, I don't think they won Copa. I think it was Atletico Madrid against somebody else. Or maybe it was Barca. But yeah, I think they've somehow managed to get some sort of money. They've also sold off their stadium rights like a while ago. That's why it's the Spotify Arena. So all the little deals have contributed to them actually getting some sort of cash.
They did win Copa,
yeah. So there's that, and then whether they get Nico Williams, I think this is a great question here, just because he's the most talked about player in Spain at the moment, alongside Lamine Yamal, because of their relationship when they're at Spain and when they're in that national team. I think he hasn't hidden from the fact, or he hasn't skirted around saying that he wants to play at Barca with Yamal. So imagine a front line of like Lamine Yamal on the one side on the right.
But what happens to
Nico Williams
Rafinha?
on the left. Yeah, Rafinha playing through the center and then Olmo
Okay.
behind him. It's just like completely changing things up, right? You got Pedri, you got Gavi. Yeah, so I think it's a dream that Barca players definitely, or not players, but fans rather want. Maybe some of the players as well, so that they won't have to play against him and actually have him on his team. But yeah, that's again something that assures their front line for a decent amount of time. I mean, Lamine, what, 17? Only going to be 18 sometime in the future. So he's still got a few more years. You got Nico Williams, probably about 19, 20, if I'm not mistaken, 20, maybe 2021. So yeah, they're fine. And then this Joan Garcia, right? Edu. And this is just another lovely thumbs up for our former sporting director, Edu.
Yeah.
We went in for him and he was keen to move to us, right? Obviously, it speaks a bit about his mentality because I thought Raya had this first choice spot locked up, but he's like, he was backing himself to come and actually take Raya's spot. But Edu didn't want to pay the difference in release clause and value. So the release clause, I think at the stage was 25 million. And Edu went there with an offer of 20, and he wouldn't meet that 5 mil difference to get him. Now, whether I believe all of it, yes, I do, 100%, because Edu has fumbled a fair few players for us. So, yeah, I think Boss has got a very good keeper. I think Ter Stegen, from what I read, he was unhappy about the amount of minutes that he got when he had came back. I don't think Hansi Flick liked his attitude when he had come back from injury. But he is still contracted, so he's not going to try and force a move out because he's still getting good money. I think he's still in the top 5 earners at Barca, so he's going to milk it. And I think I saw today that he turned down an offer from Galatasaray, which was so, yeah, I think he's still good enough and strong enough to compete in like Europe's top 5 league. So and to watch the space, especially since they've signed this new keeper. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the story with Nico Williams specifically is that he wants Barcelona. Like, I think Bayern Munich are also in for him. But
Arsenal as well, yeah, we were sort of linked with him, but I think we won't go there. I don't think we have that kind of cash.
On the left-hand side, yeah, you could actually use a kind of a left forward. But talk to me about... Yeah, but talk to me about... I know you didn't want to go to that part of North London, but talk to me about the kind of striking options that you guys are looking at. Is it Sesko and Gyökeres? Like, what's the situation there? And who would you prefer personally between the two of them? Or someone else, if you would prefer?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody else, right? Besides, like, maybe Messi a few years back. I think the Sesko deal, it seems like it's gathered quite a bit of steam. It might have even picked up more since the fixtures has been released and we see what that first 6 games is. Maybe we do need a new strike force. But I think I'm sort of leaning towards Sesko. Gyökeres, as great as he is, I think there's been some questions about the sort of goals that he's been scoring. And my thinking to that is, regardless if it's a tap-in, regardless if it's a bit of a fluky goal, he's still scoring them. So he still put up ridiculous numbers. People say that people that score penalties I mean, look, I used to give Cole Palmer a lot of, even Lampard just score a lot of penalties, but you have to score it. Like, people miss penalties quite often, and here you have a guy that's consistent. He goes 12 to 12 most seasons, right? And okay, maybe he gets a lot of penalties because of the fact that he's always in the box. So he's always creating something and he's always making something.
And that's what you need, though, right? You need that kind of a striker.
Just there's so many cutbacks from the wingers and things like that where there was no striker in play. So yeah, if you can get somebody that's just going to be in the box, I'm not mad. I think at this stage, whichever's going to be cheaper for me might be better because we still need to go for a left wing. And I think we're in talks with Rodrigo, and also that looks like a figure of 80 upwards. So if we can cut cost, maybe the shrewd guy in me is trying to say, okay, maybe we take a bit from there. But yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I think we made a decent amount of cash. It's just whether we can get some money from the sales because we'll have quite a few outgoings. So for me, I think Zinchenko's been linked to AC Milan for a decent time now. We probably, I mean, look, Jorginho basically ran his contract down. Kieran Tierney ran his contract down. But there's other guys. I think Reece Nelson comes in. We probably try and get some sort of money for him. I personally would like to keep Fabio Vieira. I think he's got a lot of... Yeah. So he's
Okay.
actually, we've basically allowed him to play this Club World Cup, and then he'll come back. He'll report for preseason. We could possibly, I think now's the time to get money for a guy like Thomas Partey. I would say get rid of him. It's a time where you could still fetch a decent amount of money, not a decent amount of money, but at least get something for him, as opposed to next year when he's a free agent and we just make nothing.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other fringe players which I think we could possibly get some cash for, but
The problem with Thomas Partey is that you'll need to replace him. That's I think the biggest problem. And if Zubamendi doesn't come, then
no, I think he's basically secured, and we'll only announce it once, like the actual, because the transfer window, it's open now, right? The next section of it is open. Yeah. So I think he's confirmed. I have a very strong feeling, and I hope that I don't get clipped up saying that I think he's confirmed, and then it actually comes out that he walks out at Xabi Alonso's training session. But yeah, if he doesn't, then there's bigger problems. But if he is, and we get rid of Partey, I think there's a lot of people that we could get in. I mean, we've got a guy like Sambila Congo that's still on the book. So let's get some cash for him. Maybe negotiate with Sevilla. They've got a very decent holding midfielder there. I can't get his name now, but there's plays to be made to get somebody in, to blood them in for maybe the following season. So yeah, we'll see.
But we need things now. We can't be blooding people in anymore, Jason. The time is now.
For sure. But I mean, as I'm saying blooding in, I'm talking about us having Zubamendi already. So let's speak in that positivity. And if we do get a striker, maybe we see Marino in that midfield position that we saw now in this Nations League, where I think he did very well. Those late runs, those third man runs were causing France great problems, and then a bit of Portugal as well. So let's see.
Yeah, 100%. So just before we go on to the Club World Cup and we look at it a bit, do you have any last things in terms of transfers that you want to talk about, or can we move on?
No, I think it's just, I was actually caught out recently. So yeah, just don't follow the first tweet that you see. Maybe do some groundwork. Even if they look legit, they might not be. Okay, so that's my little comment.
What did you get burnt with?
Well, I saw something that they had Fabrizio's, they had his handle, they had everything correct, and then yeah, it was actually a fake. So thanks to our friend Shripa who actually called me out on it. So yeah. But talk about the late transfer. Talk about a late transfer.
Oh my goodness me. You were just talking about the third man running into the box.
Can we just check if the audio is working? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Fine, man.
Miguel Marino is making a late run into the box.
Oh yeah,
I can see this guy's gonna bring some people in the chat now as well. People are excited. They thought you were lost at sea or something.
My bro, I was lost at road.
That's worse, arguably. Yeah, so Jason says Zubamendi is secure with the same confidence as Arsenal fans saying they were going to win the league. Oh, well, welcome Ziyaad. Welcome with that.
Welcome. Just thought I would show you exactly what I've been dealing with here, Zips. How's it going?
If there's one brother that can handle it, it's you.
Nah, fair play.
How's it going, Ziyaad? You well?
Yeah, right, man. Right. I want to say I can't complain, but I can. But you know, we'll leave it. We'll skip over that part.
I'm so glad that you've come at this time, right? Because I've handled the section that I'm somewhat confident in, and I'm hoping that you know a bit more about the Club World Cup.
I know everything about it, my bro. All we need to know is that Sundowns won. Is there anything else you need to know?
Nothing more, nothing less, my friend.
That man literally scored a hat-trick. Reyners. The first goal disallowed, then he scored, then it counted, then the third. I feel like there was a third one also.
Yeah, no, so he had one that was disallowed for handball, and then he had one that was disallowed for offside. So yeah, hat-trick in my book. So when you compare Ikram Reyners and Tajani Reinders, I think one is clearly coming out on top, isn't it? One that has a goal already.
Look, you never know what Tajani will bring up. Okay, he's the wizard. But I was surprised, honestly, that City are playing him in a lone six, because like all his stats from last season, the way he played at AC Milan or not, he's not really a defensive midfielder. Like it's very odd to see him play there. But you know, Pep puts people in weird positions. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
I
it's
think also that the whole defensive midfielder thing is a bit overhyped, and you're playing as a six, you're playing as an eight, whatever the case is. I think we've advanced with football in such a way that
Yeah,
it kind of depends with the ball and without the ball what positions you take. You know, it's very different, I think, in possession and out of possession, and also against a weaker team. You know, if you have a lot of possession, you don't need a guy shielding the back four as much.
yeah,
So that guy then gets free. But if you're playing against a team who are good, I know, but more quality, then
mm,
perhaps you need a guy sitting in front of the front four. So I think
yeah,
there has to be some sort of transition the way we talk about this 6, 8, and 10 situation.
yeah,
And I think eventually the media will catch up to what the actual players are doing and the coaches are talking about.
yeah.
100%. I
But
fully agree
it's
with
just
that.
like the formation is set, right? But it's not necessary. It's just it's a thing that's always been there. You know, you have to either go 4-4-2 or something like that. But it's just like, yeah, football is moving and it's becoming more and more fluid.
Yes.
So yeah, what you start as a six, maybe you're then playing left back because that's how
Yeah.
it goes.
Exactly.
Or the inverted
Yeah.
fullbacks and things like that. So yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
echoing what
MLS.
you're saying. I think it's going to be things are moving in such a rapid rate and coaches are getting more advanced and figuring out ways to outsmart opposition. So yeah, it's going to be an
Yeah.
exciting time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna go on to Rames's question quickly. I'm gonna ask each
Yeah.
of you that question. Who do you think is gonna win the Club World Cup? Ziyaad, I'll start with you since you are the Club World Cup guru.
I think it's really hard to say because after the group stages, there's another kind of transfer or registration portal where if you've bought new players, you can then register them into your squad. So
Mm,
you could be starting with, a group of players now, but once you get to the knockout stage, I mean, Chelsea could have a whole new squad by then. It's really hard to say. And to be honest, I mean, it's probably going to be boring, but it's hard to look beyond the Bayern Munich's, the Real Madrid's, those
PSGs.
probably that stand out, PSG to some degree. But I mean, I'd love. Obviously, it's impossible for Sundowns or near impossible, but
Mm,
I'd love to see a team make a deep run like a Fluminense or one
yeah,
of those teams, because I think the South American teams have been overlooked coming into it, and they've done really well
yeah,
just to get it started. So a European team probably will win because they'll have too much
yeah.
quality coming into it. But yeah, I'm hoping for some sort of upset. But yeah, Bayern, money on Bayern, I guess.
Okay, I like that.
Look,
Jason.
Bayern played against a bunch of semi-professionals, right? They must still come up against the mighty Boca Juniors. I would love to see Boca Juniors go through. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Marcus Rojo is playing there, and
Okay.
they've got a front line that is led by one Edison Cavani.
See
If
that
there's
that's a
ever
fun thing about the Club World Cup, and we're getting to see these
yeah,
guys also play for
all
their
these
national,
people, yeah,
their local teams. And you got a 40-year-old Thiago Silva who had a phenomenal game against Inter Milan. I think it was Fluminense versus Inter. He was a rock at 40 years old, my bro. So there's that side of it, and then also the youngsters. There's
mm,
some exciting young players out there.
yeah. No, so I think who you're talking about is 39-year-old Sergio Ramos, who was playing for
Ui, Monterrey.
Monterrey.
Yes,
Monterrey
sir.
played against Inter 1-1, and then Fluminense played
Yeah.
against Dortmund. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean
that was a
Dortmund was
Oh
no-brainer.
yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Sorry, my
yeah.
apologies.
But yeah,
Dort-
even the ever present Jorginho playing
yeah,
for
Flamengo, I think.
Flamengo. Yeah, top of the
Yeah,
groups there, joint top with his former employees Chelsea. Um,
yeah.
Talk to me about this walkouts, man. This individual walkouts like it's NBA season. Bro. I don't know.
That's the American way. It is cool, but for 11 mana, it's a bit
Yeah,
much, man.
Yeah,
Plus 11 times 2. So from that
yeah.
perspective, I think it's a bit rough. They could have maybe done the units together, all the defenders, or it's kind of
Mm,
hard in football. But I saw a quote from Romeo Lavia. He seemed
mm.
to have enjoyed it quite a bit. So Yeah,
Romy
Truly, I'm
Arabia,
something.
aka Bow Wow. That man, of course, he will love it, bruh. He thinks it's a music video. Shout
Hey,
out
the
to
As
young
him
long
for
as
the
kids
they
video.
enjoying
will.
themselves.
Yeah,
Mm.
they will
Little
enjoy it.
Romy looking for a homie.
I'm really hoping for a Sundowns deep run, a deep run from the Sundowns.
Yeah.
Whether it will happen or not, but it's hard to look past the PSGs and the Bayern Munichs of the world, especially because, I guess even City. I suppose if I have to give them their due,
Yeah.
they are currently
But
winning
the
2-0.
interesting thing, there's kind of a leveler. I don't know if you guys spoke about it yet, but the weather. I think the heat is kind of a leveler because these guys are kicking off. One match
Yeah,
kicks off at noon and another match
yeah,
at 3 p.m. So the
Yeah,
temperatures are quite high, and that is a bit of a leveler because our
yeah,
African brothers, they're used to playing in this heat. For them,
yeah.
it's nothing, right? And the only people crying are the
Winter's
Europeans.
Day. Yeah,
So it's Luis Enrique crying for PSG. Dortmund, we didn't have the energy because the weather. So there might
mm.
actually be even the South American teams can handle the heat
Yeah, they'd be able to
um,
handle it. Yeah, also
a
with
bit
the
better, you know.
altitude and those things. Yeah, they well adept to. Yeah, but it's I don't know, man. Like I was watching. I don't know where I was watching on, but it was mid game that they just had an advert. They split the screen and they had an advert going on, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's scary where football's going now because it's becoming a lot more like Americanized and things of
yeah.
that nature. And it's also they're gearing up to next year's World Cup. So if you're not gonna like it now, you're gonna have to figure out when you're gonna like it because it's gonna
I
happen
think
next year
I
as well.
can I can push back a little on that from the perspective of it depends who gets the TV rights, man. So where are you watching it? And
Yeah,
if you're watching on Supersport's not going to play an ad in the middle of it, right? So
yeah,
if Supersport secure the rights, but from what I understand, I think the Zone has the rights for it. Um, so they're putting the games up for free in different spots and stuff. So if the Zone is going to put the games up for free, then they're going to throw ads everywhere, right? Because they need to make that
yeah.
revenue back. So I think I watched some highlights. It was on the Zone, and I think the Zone is the broadcaster.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's where that's coming from. But it is different. But
Mm,
that's the nature of the beast, I guess. If the prize money is that much, then they gotta get it from somewhere.
mm.
Yeah, I mean it does take way too long to start the game. I was literally before this, I was waiting for the City game to start, and
Yeah.
I if I had waited, I don't think I would have been able to like get you on time. That's how long it took to start the game.
Yeah.
But what's
Okay,
interesting to
here's as far as question, right? So our team's actually playing to their full potential at the Club World Cup.
I
Um,
think so.
I
Are
don't
they
know
not?
is there like there's obviously gonna be a massive prize, right? There has to be like a massive monetary thing happening there. But I was thinking about it because I watched the PSG Atletico game, and this is actually something that I was trying to understand because PSG look like they're still in the same sort of motion, right? They're still clinical where they need to, but there's certain parts of the game that they're just like, you know what, they're not gonna run, they're not gonna really sprint and stuff like that. But when you look at the season, right, these guys just finished Nations League. For a guy like João Neves, even Vitinha, they just came from the highs of freaking winning Nations League, Champions
Yeah,
League. They've won everything that an individual and a team could win in their respective league. And now they must come play this. And it's like, yeah, surely they would want to actually. I saw Clement Longley get sent off, and I'm like, yo, perfect. Now he can actually he can just chill. Um, and yeah, I think maybe in this early group stage games, they might not give it. It's like, okay, if we win, then we will go through. I don't know if people are really going to be pushing as hard. Maybe it is just these African teams and South American teams, the non-Europeans. Let's see.
they kind of want to prove themselves.
Mm,
It's yeah, maybe. I mean, they already complain
Yeah,
about
also
how many
like because
games
of the
they play.
different seasons around the world, right? So the
yeah,
Brazilians, I think, are 10 to 15 games into their season, so they kind of hitting a stride now. The Europeans are
yeah,
coming out of the end of their season.
The
Um,
long season.
Africa also, I think, follows the European one for the most part.
yeah.
I think Asia guys are but in between. But the other thing is also like the type of team. And so if you look at PSG, for example, they play
Yeah.
in a weaker league. So
Mm.
you could argue that to win the Club World Cup could be very important for them and their brand. So they're pushing the guys harder now, and they'll
Mm.
rotate them and give them some time off. You know, when they're playing against
Yeah.
When the season
whoever
starts.
in the French division. But then a
Yeah.
team like
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid, their big battle is not essentially to win the Club World Cup. It's not going to
Yeah.
improve their profile that much. They want to go deep because they can get some money, obviously. But they
Yeah.
might be like, look, our real battle is with Madrid and Barca. So, you know,
Mm.
we're just going to use this as preseason, you know, get minutes under the belt and try a
Pre-season.
few
Yeah.
different players and, you know, stuff like that. So you
Yeah.
kind of you have to look at the club. City haven't won anything. You know, so maybe they're gonna push hard because they want to get a trophy. They also the
Yeah.
defending Club World Cup champions, if I'm not mistaken. Before obviously
Yeah.
the expansion. So I think each team will have something different to play for, and
Yeah.
then you know it's up to them. Sometimes you have a group of guys. You walk into a dressing room, and you say, "Look, guys, I don't think it's a good idea for us to go too hard here. Let's pick our battles and let's focus on the league." And the guys are like, "What? We came all this way. We play to win." And we
Mm.
want to win it. So you know you get that group of guys also who
Yeah.
aren't too concerned with the future. You know, you could
Yeah.
take a guy like Vitinha or whatever. They're on a buzz. They won everything. He just won the
Yeah.
Nations League. He won the Champions League. He won the league, and he's like, "Nah, I want to keep winning," because that hunger to
Yeah.
win stays, man. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you want to chase it. So I think it will become evident as the tournament progresses. You know, when you see like especially the last group game, oh, we need to do this to win or whatever, then you see if guys are actually going to try and do it. Like take Dortmund for example, they they threw Joe Bellingham on for his debut, but
Mm.
the way it looked was like he just basically got sent on to have a run around. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there was no intensity really to it. It was more like just get through the motions, play with the new guys, you know, stuff like that. So yeah,
Mm.
Get some
interesting.
chemistry going. But as far
Exactly.
to answer your question, I think I stand in the correction, but I think the Club World Cup is every 4 years. So that's why we see teams like Chelsea and those. Is it two
Was it
years?
not
No.
every
So,
2 years?
Could
isn't
be
it
2 years.
every year?
I don't
Nah,
think
I
it's
don't
every
think
year.
it's every year.
It's normally December, isn't it? So
Yeah,
if
but
you
I mean,
win,
if
but
they're gonna have an expanded one, I can't
yeah,
see it
no. So
being every year.
now it will change. But I think
I
previously,
almost feel like it's gonna replace the Confederations Cup to some degree because that tournament became a waste. So
But
you
isn't the
you essentially
Confederations Cup like an international tournament?
yes, but it's a FIFA thing essentially, right? So to
Oh,
replace
okay.
FIFA's revenue for that, so like
yeah,
the way I look at it, and I might be wrong, but the World Cup is next year in the US, Mexico, Canada.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
the Club World Cup is now there, kind of like a dry run,
I
like how they used
yeah,
to
see.
use the
yeah,
Confed Cup, right? So
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
thinking that's something that they will do, but we'd have to check on that.
So there was.
Sorry,
I
Aswad.
think. I think it's 4 years, but it could also be two because so the reason why I'm saying it's 4 years is because the Chelsea are kind of in it, and Chelsea are in it because they won when did they win Champions League 3 years ago.
Yeah, but I think that's more for the expanded thing, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
for the
they took
expanded
that into.
format of it, they had to look at other
So they'll
champions and
probably
stuff.
have cutoffs and stuff. I think it will have to. It's kind of one of that in development type of things, right? So it's not
Mm.
set
Yeah.
in stone. They're probably gonna have to change things around because, like, say for example, they were talking about this. I was listening to a podcast or something where they were saying that there was a chance that if PSG didn't win the Champions League, whoever they played,
Mm.
who did they play against again? I can't even
Inter.
remember. Inter.
Inter.
Okay, Inter's there. But if it was maybe, I think Arsenal or Barcelona that
Mm.
won the Champions League, they wouldn't be at the Club World Cup. So you would have the Club World Cup without the current Champions League holders. So they need to figure that part out still, man. It's just they
Yeah,
were
Okay.
just lucky the way it worked out this time, but
yeah.
they got
Yeah.
some stuff to figure out.
No, it's so silly, honestly, man. But yeah, I 100% agree that it is like a dry run to next year's thing. They're also trying to get quite a bit of hype going. And yeah, as far just on that crowds thing, right? I think I was seeing online people are like, yeah, nobody's gonna go for like a 3 o'clock midday when they must work, like to go watch a Chelsea against somebody, or like a Sundowns, which is a team from South Africa, which they now don't like Elon Musk now. We must still be confronted with a full team. They think the freaking Brazilians are here, and it's actually a few guys from Mamelodi. And then, yeah, who are they even playing against? They were playing against Ulsan Hyundai.
Yeah,
Japanese.
Korean,
So, yeah,
Korean.
Korean. There we go.
But see, like
So,
this is
yeah.
where you kind of have to be smart, right? So I was thinking about this, and at the end of the day, how are we going to get people into the stadiums, right? Because nowadays sport is moving towards TV deals. As long as people are watching on TV, everyone's happy because that's where the advertising revenue and stuff is. But it's killing the atmosphere, and when you're watching it, you don't see something you like. So something cricket does, I call it rent a crowd, right? They literally pay people to come watch, and I think the US is doing that to some degree. But in a country where football or soccer, whatever you want to say, isn't the number one sport, right? You tell me what type of fan is going to go to Wydad Casablanca versus Man City, right? You really have to be a football person to now want to go, right? So
Or be from Morocco.
you need
and
to
be studying
mobilize
the
the soccer fans or the football fans, or you have to have like good travel packages so that you can fly these guys in from
That's
the
a good
different
idea.
clubs, right? My suggestion is like, and not that anyone's listening, but what I would say is there. Mr. Ronnie says every 4 years, so that's
So,
interesting one.
there
That's
we
a
go.
big gap.
We got
But
that's
like,
fine.
This guy
it-
hasn't told me that. I don't know where he's getting his information from.
it's probably a
I
better
was,
source than you.
yeah,
exactly.
100%. 100%.
So is the World Cup in baseball, right? Essentially, where they split into different pods. So it's not based on location or anything, but they play it in different countries, man. So they have like one group, a couple of groups are based in Japan, couple of groups are based in Europe or whatever the case is, right? And however you qualify, you go to the different place. So they could do something like that with the Club World Cup and use more countries that are into soccer. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe you split it around the continent because I think there's 8 groups, right? There's 32 teams. So if you have 8 groups, you can essentially go to 4 different continents with us, right? And 2 groups in each one, 2 groups in each country. So say in Africa, you send 2 groups to Morocco. In Europe, you send 2 groups to Spain, and then 2 groups go to Australia, and another to Korea, maybe, right? Or Japan. And then yeah, that's what they're doing with the World Cup, Hamza, you're right. And then you kind of have games in different time zones. So instead of one game at 3 and one game at noon or whatever in the US to match up with the UK time zones and whatever the case is, you now split it across the day, man, in the different time zones. Like, just think about it growing up, right? One of the most memorable World Cups for me was 2002, Korea, Japan. And I think all the games were in the morning. Nobody cared that we in South Africa and we're not gonna watch it prime time. It's just like it worked out that way, and then you wake up early to watch it, or you stay up late, or you skip school, or whatever the case is, and you have to make it work. So I think that way it'll probably be better because they get better crowds in if they're putting it in more traditional soccer cities, and then also with the staggered times. If you're a fan watching at home, you're essentially going back to back to back with 3 games, and you don't kind of get into it a bit more because we watch the World Cups, right? So how's this any different? They have to build it up to that. I mean, I'm sure you've watched the El Salvador, Honduras, or whatever game because there's one Premier League player, or whatever the case is, right? So there is a lot of things they can do with this. It's just can they do it properly?
We have a bit of a confusing question in the chat that just came through now. Can one of you please explain what exactly this fella means here by this question?
Yeah, that's all I need. So you need to put these comments through a translator, my bro.
This one again thought that he was messaging in his cricket group, and now he's actually online. in alive.
Oh golly, but I love that idea though, Ziyaad, because like the fact that how can you expect, first of all, like you say, I didn't even think about it, that a country that's football or soccer is literally not even the second or third biggest
But
sport
they
in the country,
literally started the competition in the middle of the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup.
and in the daytime. And in the daytime as well, which is crazy.
Exactly.
How do you expect people to want to go to?
Two are the biggest ending of the seasons in
Yeah.
in American sports happening this week, and Florida was where Miami played, Inter Miami, and that's where the Stanley Cup was also being played, and then
That's
it
dividing the
just
whole
doesn't make
system
sense.
up. Yeah.
I think they
It
shot
doesn't make
too
sense.
early on this one. I think they thought maybe like the interest in terms of bringing like Messi and Suarez
And
and all
also
those
there
people.
was another thing to come back to the crowd thing as far for you is they were saying they're using all these big stadiums, right? So it looks worse. Why not use a 20,000 seater or a 15,000? Play the Sundowns game in a 10, 12,000 seater stadium, and it will look much better. It will look
It
full
will
or
sound
whatever the
much
case is.
better. The
Take the
atmosphere will be
Sundowns
better.
game to Florida, no? And half the stadium in a 12,000 will be all the South Africans that are working there.
As far as a very important question for you, yeah.
Yeah. Look here. The first one got me already. The famous football that people still talk about. Yes, Aswar, to confirm, I've been very fortunate to have him as my dad. I haven't seen him play, so everything that's been said is just from back in the day. But yes,
Okay.
it is
I-
the one and only.
So you do your own hamstrings then. There's nothing to do with your father.
This guy didn't once tear his hamstring. I'm gonna tell you, he's had
Okay.
knee ops, he's done that, but his hamstrings were perfectly fine. I don't
But
know
did he go to
where.
Livingston?
No, bro. I think maybe
I
why
think
his
that's the
hamstrings
issue.
were
I think your
why his
exposure to one
hamstrings
Saudi
were
Khan
fine
is the
because he used to
problem.
walk to school. He used to walk
Okay.
everywhere. Me, I used to get dropped.
Yeah,
A
it's the
soft
privilege, you see. It's the privilege, yeah.
soft serve. Hamstrings are made of candy floss apparently.
That is what they say. But I mean, this hopefully the Club World Cup will kind of be a bit of the a bit better when it comes to like the business end, I suppose. But I think both everything that we've said so far to kind of improve it, they can take something from it because playing in a smaller stadium to increase the atmosphere, changing the time of it, changing the season, changing the country, even like Ziyaad said, like just to even
Take the
like
whole
put it
World
in.
Cup out of America and bring it somewhere else.
Yeah,
And then
just
it
Not
will
even
work
have a
for
leg in
the
America,
US.
man.
yeah, just
Relax,
one,
right?
a couple of like groups just to play there.
Yeah, no, I'm messing
Um,
with you. I'm just adding intrigue.
but 100%. But like I'll try maybe and follow the Club World Cup a bit closer to the time, like when if I happen to do it. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna watch
It's
the
a big
highlights of
game
my
tonight,
boy.
Riyaz.
The Madrid game, is that what
Madrid
you're
against
talking
Al
about?
Hilal. That's
Al
actually
Hilal.
that's Al Hilal. That's who plays for Al Hilal?
Isn't it?
Mitrovic.
Yeah, I think so.
Mitrovic and
They
And they
wanted to
loaned
buy
Kante.
people.
They
Moroccan
literally
keeper.
loaned Kante just for this tournament from
Yeah.
their rival.
Who
They wanted
we
to
got
get like
Ruben
so many
Neves,
people
we
through the
got
door.
Koulibaly that was at Napoli and at Chelsea. Serge Milinkovic Savic that was at Lazio. Bono, the keeper from Morocco that was at Sevilla. So yeah.
Ashford Trent is definitely playing. Please. They
And
got
that-
him in for this exact reason.
But it's actually, it's the first game Xabi Alonso gets to manage. So it'll be a good game, yeah. Shot. Now I can watch 45 minutes before I go to bed.
I'm gonna be watching the highlights of my Tijani Reinders match because looks like he almost played the whole game. Just want to see what he's up to. But yeah,
As a City fan, it is important to watch your team, Ria. So yeah.
don't. This is all because I called you that closeted United fan in the intro.
Yes, but also
okay.
this has been a long-standing joke for the channel, so everybody knows you support 6 teams.
These running jokes next season we're gonna have to start anew. But in any case, That's our Club World Cup segment. Thank you, Ziyaad, so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming through. But we're going to go through to the last segment of the show now, and that's we're going to go through kind of the season as a whole, the Premier League season, and we're going to talk about underrated and overrated player. Just I think we're going to each pick one. We can pick more than one if we want to, but we're going to go through the kind of the season. And this is Hamza. This is basically your fault. We basically took this from you last week because we asked you about, we asked the chat if what ideas you have, and we basically stole this from you. So thank you for that. So if you guys have any interesting kind of content ideas in the chat and that stuff that you want to see, let us know and we might do it. So thank you, Hamza, for this. And as far I'm not sure about AF. I'll be honest, he's not in the background as he usually is. So maybe he kind of got distracted by, I don't know, some comic book. No, don't. It's not your bad, Hamza. Please, we're thanking you. It's reverse that. Reverse that. We are thanking you for this. But yeah, so we're going to go through our underrated and overrated players of the season. Ziyaad, since I miss hearing you talk, I'm just going to come to you first with give me your underrated player of the season first, please, if you don't mind.
Underrated, it's kind of hard to define, but I think the way I looked at it was who's kind of overlooked and always spoken about as worse than they actually are. And I kind of settled on Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Okay, I like that.
And the reason for that is like obviously West Ham didn't do that well, but he was quite solid for West Ham. And the thing that stands out about Wan-Bissaka is obviously his defense. His defense is very good, especially one-on-one. He's one of the better defenders out there. You can go check all the stats and so on. Where he does obviously struggle a bit is on the offensive end. You know, he doesn't have a great cross or final ball, and he's not as dynamic as, you know, what the right back position has become, you know, with guys like Trent and Pedro Porro, maybe, you know, guys that bomb down the right and so on. But in a team where the right back plays to defend, he's quite good and often overlooked. And I think a big part of it is obviously that time at United, because at Crystal Palace he was, I think, properly rated. You know, he was seen as this young player, really, really good. And then United bought him, and then suddenly he wasn't good anymore, which made no sense. So I think he's found a good spot at West Ham. So that's the guy for me. As far as I don't know what he's smoking, underrated Gravenberch. How can a guy be underrated if you want a young player of the year?
You see, so here's the thing, right? This is what me and Jason were talking about just off air before we came onto the live, is that how do you actually kind of set up your parameters for the underrated player? Like, how do you decide how if a player is underrated or not? And that's kind of what, like you said now before you started, is what the difficulty thing is about the underrated player. And I guess as far, I'll give it to you. If you think of like before the season, he was an underrated player and he came onto the scene and he played really well for the season. But yeah, it's difficult after the season, after he's had such a good season, to say he's an underrated player after he's had
it's
such
not
a
even
good
about
season.
the good season. The fact is that he got recognition for his season.
Yeah.
So you can't be underrated if you get recognition.
That's yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because then if you're only underrated if no one's recognizing what you're bringing. Like you could sit here and say Liam Delap, but you can't say Liam Delap because Liam Delap just got bought by Chelsea for 30 million.
Yeah.
So he's
100%.
not underrated. Hamza has a good point there, Milenkovic, because he about as a second fiddle to Mario at Forest. Anthony Robertson, some people would say he's over, some people would say under. Depends how you look at it. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the American. But I know you guys love Anthony Robertson. I know AF and you, Jason. You guys like him. Yeah, because the two of you were saying,
like we all get together and watch Fulham games and say, "Yo, this is our guy playing now." I don't do that.
because the two of you said so. I was like, nah. And just before I throw it back to you guys, Saka overrated. I mean, if you support Liverpool, then every player is gonna be overrated.
You were gonna get a signature. You were actually gonna get a meet and greet. I was gonna organize you gonna come Buka here, but last that now. Just because of
Yo, as well, that rage bait was so good. I enjoyed that a lot. Thank you for that one.
But literally every player, every right winger is overrated if you're comparing to Salah. Like,
Sure.
what the
But
hell, man?
I just wanna pick up on that Milinkovic thing. So,
Yeah.
like, I agree with you that he is underrated. But now, because like at the end of the season, a lot of people were saying that he's had a great season and he was getting recognition. It's also a bit of a touch and go kind of a vibe where is he still underrated? But I guess we will see
So,
how it
who
goes
do you have
this
for
season.
underrated?
I've
Yeah,
got two
Jason.
players.
Jason,
Before,
you tell me.
Okay, so my first one is Struan Larsen from Wolves.
I like that
Um,
call.
I think when Cunha was on that run and he was just getting suspended every third or fourth game,
Yeah.
Struan Larsen actually found some sort of a groove, and I think he was struggling at the start of the season, but a lot of his goals kept Wolves in games. And
Yeah.
yeah, if it wasn't a bit of a collapse at the end of the season, they probably finish higher than United and West Ham. That is the one. And then the other one that I had, which I don't think people saw much of him because of the sort of understated role that he played, was Elliot Anderson.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people rate him in that Nottingham Forest team because you have a guy like Chris Wood, you had Morgan Gibbs White did well, Anthony Elanga, even Sal's at the back, Milinkovic, all of those.
But he was just in that
Um,
engine room doing his thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a very understated role because you don't get a lot of goals in it, but you have to break up play, you have to be disruptive. So I think it's something that Gravenberg was praised for because he had done it well. He also contributed a bit more offensively where maybe Elliot Anderson didn't because he would just give it to Gibbs White who would then run the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my two.
I love it.
Honorable mention for Bruno Fernandes because people hate him, but without his goals, I think United get relegated. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I was thinking about Bruno as well, genuinely,
Hmm.
because, like you say, he has had a great season. But the problem is that people, like we said, people have been saying, "Oh, if it wasn't Bruno Fernandes, you guys would have been relegated." Like that's an actual the thing. So, um, I'm with you on that one. He's had a great season, and it's only gone under the radar because United have gone or been so bad, which is the bit of a problem. But I love both of those. I'm gonna continue with your engine room scenario and kind of story because I think that's a great analogy to kind of bring out. And my first one I'll give to as well. My first one is going to be who was it? Engine room. Oh, Sanderberger. It was Sanderberger for Fulham. I think Sanderberger is super underrated. I think he goes under the radar. He does exactly what you said Elliot Anderson does. Just I guess he's less not I don't want to say flashy, but he's less technical, I guess. Because Elliot Anderson he can do a lot more on the ball. He can find a lot more passes. Sanderberger is more kind of simple. He does what he needs to do. He breaks up the play. He plays the simple pass off. He just sits in front of the back four and he does what he needs to do. And for Fulham, I think he was a big part as to why they were able to kind of finish as high as they did. And he's a big part of Marco Silva's system, especially after having let João Palhinha go. There was a massive hole there. And I think Sanderberger is kind of fit in there perfectly. I really like the look of him. And for a big fella, he's really mobile. So I really enjoyed watching him. My second underrated for the season was Dan Burn. I think Dan Burn was amazing. He can play at left back. He can play at centre back as well on the left hand side. And he's a tall fella who, if you look at him, you don't think he's going to do much, but he's always at the end of crosses. Yeah, no doubt. I think João Gomez and Andre, I think it is in the Wolves midfield was good, but I think the problem was that the overall did so badly. But I think they both look good for Wolves as well. But yeah, Dan Burn, I think he's a major part as to why Newcastle kind of did so well this season, because especially with having what's his name, Portman. Portman was injured for a lot of this the first part of the season. So for him to have kind of taken the role of kind of chief there in that back line to kind of instruct him. And now he's got an England call up as well somehow. But yeah, I think Dan Burn at both ends of the field, he has done really, really well this season. And he's definitely underrated. So Jason, I want to come to you with overrated first. I will come to you first for the overrated player of the season, please. And we can rage bait Asfar if you would like to. But yeah.
No, it's fine, man. Look, Aspar, I can still get your signature, my bro. You know, better yet, now I'll sign it or so. It will be worth absolutely nothing once I sign it. But yeah, I think overrated this season has to be Cole Palmer. The way that they spoke about this guy, right?
Summon that boy in the chat. Summon him.
He's hanging about here. He's one of the few people that's in this video now. But nah, look here, man. The way that he gets spoken about was like he was changing, he was moving heaven and earth. And it really wasn't the case. He was popping up with a penalty here and there, ghosted in all of the top 6 games, and then went on a barren spell like he was like he was just somewhere in the desert. Yeah. He was so good he removed the E from the earlier he spelled it correct. Now he said this magician doesn't deserve his E.
No, maybe the magician removed the E.
Yeah, maybe. So I don't know if you understand that it's my dad, but anyway, so that was my overrated bowler. I don't want to talk about Foden because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if anybody even rates Foden anymore. To be honest,
No, I think with Man City players, it's difficult because of the Pep Roulette situation. So it's difficult to kind of rate them in a.
They had the yellow injuries now, and Foden didn't start.
Yeah,
you can't tell me otherwise, man. It's just there's a different standard that these two get held to, and I think you can see it in the likes of Jamie Carragher waxing lyrically after Cole Palmer does one thing, and then this I think Mubin has a thought now, and then he just comments. I'm gonna put this up so that you can see it. Mr. Johnson said hello. Okay, everybody knows Mr. Johnson, but anyway, Foden, Cole Palmer. Those are my two.
I like that.
But Cole Palmer was unanimous, I guess. I mean, it's quite obvious. And I think just to cut him some slack, at the end of the day, I think it's the media that put him on a pedestal. He is a good player, but he's far from the finished article. And to talk about him in the same breath as some of the other world class players in the league, you know, it is. And it's always harsh to say someone's overrated, but you know, it is what it is.
I think it's because of the previous season, right? Because of how good his previous season was, the output that he had. So there was expectation coming into
the output was decent, but like Jason said, it's just going missing in the big games, and the best players in the world don't go missing in the big games. You know, the Mohamed Salahs, even though they do nothing for 85 minutes, they'll still score or pop up with an assist or something,
that
right?
And me so
no. It's but that's what makes you world class.
Which
right?
is
On
what
your worst
Salah
day,
had for most of the season. They
on your worst day, you still contribute. And the thing with Palmer is he contributes only on his best day. You know, there's too many things. And Hamza mentioned Madueke and Jackson. Madueke is quite good. Jackson, obviously, the finishing is still raw, but I don't think anybody talks about Jackson, you know, as that great of a player. But the other option I had was also in Chelsea, and for me, it's Enzo Fernandez. I really don't know what people see in this guy. He had one good tournament, playing with Leo Messi. I mean, Messi can make anybody look good. So I honestly don't know what the big deal Enzo Fernandez is. And I think Liverpool should be extremely happy that Chelsea spent all that money because they saved Liverpool from quite a few players. I think Enzo was one of them, Romeo Lavia.
And
Caicedo was a bit of a miss. I think he is actually good. But I think for me, I'm gonna go with Enzo Fernandez.
Okay, I like that a lot. My overrated player, I've waited so long to say this for the whole season because I feel like this player is so overrated. It's unbelievable. Why are you shaking your head like you expecting me to say something that is?
I have an idea of what he is, so please prove me wrong.
I'm going to, because I'm not going to say Trent. I'm not going to say Miles Lewis Kelly, even though I wanted to say Miles Lewis Kelly. I'm not going to say those things. I'm going to say what I actually think, which is a goalkeeper, surprisingly, and it's Emiliano
Emi
Martinez.
Martinez.
Yo, he was on my hit list also, yeah.
I knew that. Yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah.
he's good.
Absolutely
Another
despise
Messi
Emi
guy.
Martinez. I
Mm.
mean, the boy is talked about as one of the best keepers in the world. How
But that's
are we
why he's
talking about
linked.
it like that?
That's why he's linked to
Yeah.
one of the best clubs in the world, right?
Manchester United.
It all
Confirmed.
lines up.
Perfect.
I can't believe that people actually say that he's one of the best keepers in the world. And that's why, so when coming up with this overrated thing, I kind of went that way and I was like, is he actually one of the best keepers in the world? You have Thibaut Courtois, you have Ellison, you have, I guess, Ter
Donnarumma.
Stegen, you have Joan Garcia, you have Donnarumma, you have David Raya, I'll put above him. He's not even the top 3 in Premier League goalkeepers. How can you say that he is one of the best goalkeepers in the world? And that's where I came from an overrated point of view, because people say that
There's
he's
a
one of the
message from the Goalkeepers Union. Can you even say a keeper is underrated? This is coming from a man whose 5's team of all his family doesn't let him play in the outfield and puts him in the parlor. That's where this
Well, that
comment is
must be
coming
because
from.
he's such a good goalkeeper, isn't it? Or what?
It's Asfar the keeper. That's interesting. Next time I need a keeper in 5s, Asfar, I'm going to give you a call, because I didn't know that you were this 5-star keeper. That I might need one day. But
5 star is a bit generous, but yeah.
5
but
star
yeah,
on a scale of what? 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? That's the question.
I see now. I was being nice. He said he's saving alles. I believe him. But yeah, for me, Emi Martinez, I can't deal with the hype around him. I can't deal. Oh yeah, he's won a World Cup. Oh, he's so good. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. I mean, the mistake. He's like he's
Emi
made mistakes
Martinez
as
to
well.
that Farouk Abrams Academy, maybe. You can learn
I think
there.
they're going to ask him to coach there actually, and it's going to be terrible for the next years of keeping. But I hope he leaves the Premier League. I don't like the extracurriculars, especially from a keeper that doesn't deserve to have extracurriculars. And yeah, he can go to United, because then I'll have more to banter them about, which will be great. I don't mind that at all. But other than
Yeah,
that,
I think it'd actually be good there. He does enough, man. He's not great, but he does enough.
Yeah, it was also, I think lots of it got to his head, but he came up clutch in that year Argentina won it. And he's been
Yeah.
riding off on that for an exceptionally
Forever.
long time. And now he's like this mentality monster and all that stuff. But this man owes his whole career to Neil Maupay. Like, if he didn't injure Bernd Leno, nobody knows about Emi Martinez. Like, I
Sadly.
remember one of his games against Reading, my bro. Arsenal won that game 7-5. They were chipping him now from like inside the 6-yard area, my bro. I don't understand it. I remember the young-faced boy. So yeah. No, I thought that they had done exceptionally well once he had left Arsenal, and he did well for the World Cup, and I was extremely happy and stuff like that. But it has been, he's been living in that moment, and he's been riding with that, and yeah.
That's the problem, though. Like he's a good keeper. Like he's a steady hand. He's a good keeper, but he's not one of the top keepers in the world, and that's where I kind of
Fair.
get that from. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, lads, in the chat.
Jordy, you've come a few hours too late, my friend. We are just jumping out now, but
thanks for joining us nonetheless. Thanks for joining us. How are the lads? I don't know how to do a Jordy accent. Anybody? One of you got it?
he's
No.
probably laughing at you for saying that.
Yeah, I think I'll tap out rather.
I'm gonna tap, but maybe it's Wasim. Maybe it's Wasim and his alter ego.
Good very well. I was just like, I wasn't doing any accents. I was just like, saying how are the lads. I was just saying the comment. Anyways.
Okay, let's just pose it to him then, Jordy. Who would you say has been an underrated player this season in the Premier League, and then who's been an overrated player?
Jordy's gonna
because
come
that underrated is the 6'9" Dan Burn.
Yeah, I gave
underrated
Dan Burn the nod.
exceptionally well this season. Um, I think overrated just because Jordy's coming to the chat. I think Bruno G is overrated.
No, that's just a lie. That's just an oh, talk
Just-
me, just before we sign off, while we're waiting for Jordy to give us his overrated and underrated player of the season, I want, because I obviously haven't watched Arsenal as much as you guys, so I want to know, like, because everybody's waxing lyrical about this youngster, right? And I want to know, like, is he really as good as everybody says? Because personally, and like I said, I know he's good. He's a good player. I think he's a good player. And I like the way he plays for England. I like the way that Tuchel kind of whatchamacallits him, employs him in that system. But is Miles Lewis Kelly actually as good as everybody says, or is it overhyped? Not overrated, but maybe overhyped.
Am I taking it or you taking it?
Uh, look, I'm gonna look at Jordy's comment here. He says underrated Kirk is of Bournemouth, but fellow
I like
left
that.
back. Look, if you like the way he plays for England, what he did for England was exactly what he did for Arsenal.
Okay.
There was nothing different. He has a big personality. He's confident in himself, and I think he got a lot of unnecessary criticism from the media just because he was a bit confident in himself, and that's fine. He's 18 years old. What 18-year-old is not going to be confident?
What criticism from the media did he get?
No, there was obviously this whole perception developed around him that he's a dirty player for the sort of red cards that he had gotten, and when they...
You both clocked it at the same time.
Okay, Jody,
I like that.
Jody. Next time, come 1 hour earlier, please. This is great content. This is great content.
And
okay?
we'll make sure AF is here also to join.
We'll make sure. No, I think AF. Yeah. So I particularly liked it in the sense that he came into a team and he just imposed his sort of personality on it, and I was fine with that. Even some of the red cards that was given and stuff, like, I mean, there's a whole lot of other things to it, and it was just like they've ran with this perception that he's this dirty player, and it's like he's 18 and he's just playing like he's living everybody's dream, and their decision.
He does have more red cards than Christian Romero, eh?
Yeah, but okay, look back at those red cards now, and then you tell me Christian Romero gets red cards because he tries to break somebody's leg.
Christian Romero didn't get a single red card the whole season.
He was in most of it.
Yeah, true. That's true. I'll give you that.
Well, that's the only reason that he skirted it. I remember him almost wanting to break Enzo Fernandez's leg. Like, that's your national
No,
team.
we got the ball, guys. We got the ball in that challenge. We shouldn't have.
Anyway, Zip, give us your thoughts on Miles Lewis Kelly, and then we can.
Mine is very simple, bruh. He's the type of player that if he's in your club, you love him. And if he's not in your club, you hate him. It's one of those players, and there are a lot of those guys where you like that plays on your team. But if that player had to be on another team, you'd be like, who's this Muppet? Yeah. But the thing with this overhyped and whatever, right? First of all, there was no hype around him. He was just thrown into the position because everyone else was injured. There was no, oh, have you seen this kid? Oh, he's coming up. Just wait till he gets a chance. There was none of that, right? He literally only played because half the guys were injured, and he got thrown in and took his chance. You know, like Jason said, that confidence is there. And I think just with a couple of his performances and the fact that England is down on quality for some reason. So as soon as a young English player shows any promise, there's a force multiplier on that guy. And suddenly they're like, oh, he's next coming of Ashley Cole or whatever the case is. And it's like, just calm down, man. He's a young kid who plays above his talent level. For whatever reason, it's going to be important to see him in his second season. Can he continue to progress? Was this kind of like, outlier? And he's also not essentially a left back. He was thrown in that. He's actually a midfielder, right? Yeah. So there's a long way to go on his journey. It's just that he did so well in a couple of big spots that the magnifying glass on him went, and then every mistake he made thereafter was magnified even further, when in actual fact look around the league for 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they're all making mistakes, man. I mean, Cucurella was how old making those mistakes until this season. So you
Still making this.
still, but yeah, so I think again, just like you, if he's on your team, you all in. If he's not on your team,
Yeah.
you're like, I hate this guy, and who does he think
Yeah.
he is? Blah blah blah, and it's pretty much that simple. I think he signed a contract
Right.
extension today, also, if
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it
So
is.
you mentally, but
Good.
come on, blow your mind a bit, right? So this is an Arsenal book from 2023, right? West Ham 2023. I was in the UK. This is not something that I realized maybe like a month or so ago. So I read it in then, and it's fine. The young gun that they interview is Miles Lewis Kelly, right? Cheers. This is December 2023, before last season.
Uh-huh.
His favorite rising bowler then was Max Doman. If you are Arsenal fan, you would know who Max Doman is, right? His favorite current Arsenal player was Declan Rice, or is Declan Rice. This was 2023. A player that could go all the way. This is the sort of questions that I asked him. A player that could go all the way. Ethan Nwaneri, right? So this guy's got
Fantastic.
ball. He's got vision already because this is
Yeah.
2023. He said this guy's gonna go all the way. If I could play with anyone, Jude Bellingham. This guy's ticked it off. So look here now. I will ride for this, brah. Like this is. I've seen this
I'm not
boy
telling
come
you,
through.
the moment he moves to another team, you'd be against
People
him
are going to. Yeah.
after the first game, because that's just the nature of get players like that, man. Like, yeah,
Anyway,
it's fun
Anyways,
that way.
we went from absolutely great insight to a fanboy moment, so we'll have to see that on Sporty Cast. So thanks.
we provide it all.
But yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks so much for that insight from both of you, because I genuinely I watch him and I think he's good, but like I'm not sure. I'll make
Maybe you
sure
must
to watch.
watch him on mute, so you don't hear the
No, but
commentators going berserk.
that's a good point though, and
Show
I
me
actually
your-
like his I like his like so as opposed to Emi Martinez's extracurriculars, I like his extracurriculars because he doesn't get bullied, and for 18-year-old, I think that's super important.
But if you give your mistake also, you can't just
Yeah,
like that's the thing
100%.
with Martinez also. He wants to dish it out, but he can't handle it if it comes
Yeah.
his way.
Agreed.
And that's annoying with a lot of things.
Agreed, 100%. But thanks so much, guys. That was lovely stuff.
Alright,
Thanks
Eugene.
everyone in the chat for joining us this evening. It went. I did say in the beginning in the intro that it was going to be a short episode, and lo and behold, it was actually longer than most of our episodes. So
I'm the
thanks so much.
extender.
Yeah.
Ziyaad is the extender.
Finisher.
He had some great
Yo,
Club
Be,
World Cup
be,
insight.
before you end it, we leave Hamza with a banger, my bro, because I think he's writing exams. So we let him ponder this, while he's busy thinking about whatever question they ask him for 10 marks. Imagine words is a flop, man. Just imagine you spend 150 mil
Words
and then
is a
Bra gives
flop.
you 7 goals and 3 assists. Just imagine.
But
And we leave you on that.
Hamza,
but
let us know about that one.
in the Bundesliga, was it in the Bundesliga? Yeah, in the Bundesliga last season, Mamouche still has more goal contributions than him, and Mamouche left halfway through the season.
There we go. Just leave that with Hamza.
There we go. Okay,
While he's
look.
writing physics or chemistry or whatever.
I'm not gonna start sharing all of these comments that are now coming through because otherwise this is an hour and going on to 2 hours.
But yeah,
Material.
Ziyaad, where can people find you on the socials?
You're stuck in traffic, my bro. That's where you
That's
can
New
find
handle
me.
at stuck in traffic.
Hashtag haven't moved for 20 minutes.
Yo. Hashtag the car
Yeah,
still
the
running.
usual spots, man. Come find me there on the blue sky threads. I'm not really on X marks a spot, but yeah, we're out there, especially talking about other sports. So come talk a little about basketball, baseball, golf.
Golf.
Big one over the weekend that passed now. Old JJ Spawn winning the US Open. Yeah, come talk some sport. Obviously, Asfar aka Temba Bavuma lifting the World Test Championship. Legendary. Good time.
What a
Flowers.
great weekend for sport. What a great
Yeah,
weekend.
Yo,
to be
but
South
look here, man.
African.
Temba has the ultimate swag, bruh. Is that video going around? This guy just so this head
Yeah.
to the side. It's like, my bro, I'm that
Guys,
bruh now.
we
such
have some people on this podcast that have unrealized dreams. Okay, that's what you understand. That's why we are living vicariously through the golfers, the cricketers, the soccer players. Couldn't be
Jason, talk to me about where can they find you? Are you on Twitter nowadays or not so much anymore?
I'm trying to stay off because I'm seeing too many rumors about players linked to everybody. So I'm trying to just cleanse myself. But yeah, at Jason_Ronnie, you can find me there. I am retweeting a lot of the ICC content because we are all for it.
Okay.
So yeah, shout out Temba and Kagiso and Lungi. But yeah, that's where you'll find me. Not anywhere else really. I'm gonna try and be more present on Threads. So yeah, support all the content, love all the sports now in this off season. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Lovely stuff, lovely stuff. And of course, follow us at Sportycast on all the social media platforms on YouTube. Give the stream a like if you can, if you are so inclined. Subscribe to the channel, share the content. Make sure you follow us on X. We have a lot of content that we post on X. I think Ziyaad is super active on there as well with all the different news sources from all over the world. So make sure you follow us on there. And yeah, I'll just give my boy Markram a shout out because finally he came through for us. So on the national stage. So well done to you, sir. And yeah, thank you so much for watching with us this evening. And we will see you guys next week. See you later.